Sandy
Tell me how he deliberately lied.
He knew that.
Tell me how he deliberately
lied. And he was found to have deliberately lied.
Tell me how he deliberately lied.
And by the way, in his defense, he
Tell
tried
me how he deliberately lied.
I love Steven Crowder keeps asking that question.
He tried to play the First Amendment card, and it was rejected by the judge. Rejected.
Tell me how he deliberately lied.
How do you do it?
Please.
This is how Piers Morgan read Alex Jones' mind, is watching these little clips.
Whole thing was fake. Repeatedly. A series of different shows he did.
You still haven't answered. You still haven't answered. That doesn't prove that he knowingly lied anything.
But
Look,
The debate about what constitutes free speech and whether there should be limits, and if there should be, what they are, I think is really interesting. And a lot of people have strong opinions about this. And I'm perfectly happy to be proven wrong, or to at least have a debate with someone who's got strong views that don't necessarily tally with mine. So I welcome you to the programme. Let's start with your assessment that I'm a free speech hypocrite. So articulate to me why you believe that.
it is incumbent upon you. You will say, I believe in the concept of free speech. Now, I'll be very clear in my definition of free speech. It's the constitutional definition of freedom of speech. All speech is permissible outside of a crime. And we have very clear parameters, and these have been affirmed by the Supreme Court, as to what that is. That's a proactive call for violence. The crime is not the speech. The crime is the action causing violence on purpose. Outside of that, everything is permissible. But for a show uncensored, and I know that you said there's a difference between across the pond there, and obviously in the United States, we have a First Amendment that you don't. How would you define freedom of speech?
Well, I don't think we're as far apart as you think. I mean, you talk about the First Amendment not protecting, for example, crime. It's a little bit more complicated. For example, it doesn't protect you if you deliberately defame somebody. And my argument about Alex Jones in particular was that he's just been punished with over $1 billion fine in one of the biggest defamation cases in modern American history for deliberately telling lies about the families of the poor victims of the Sandy Hook massacre over a sustained period of time, which led to them getting direct harassment and other criminal activity. So I was joining all the dots there of his particular situation, and I concurred with Elon Musk's original view when he was asked about it when he first bought Twitter last year, which was he was not going to allow him back on. He's now changed his mind, but my opinion was based on the Constitution of the United States, not protecting
Crowder's already, he's already articulating the BS that Piers Morgan's saying.
Well, okay, so I'm going to have to take the rounds out of that magazine from how loaded that question was and so much misinformation there. And that's the beauty of the freedom of speech. You can say that, you can speak misinformation, and you have the right to, for example, saying he knowingly lied. Look, I'm not in the business of defending everything that Alex Jones has said, okay? But if you're going to say the 22 minutes out of 8,000 hours of broadcast time for which he apologized, acknowledged that he was wrong, constitutes what you are saying is proactively lying. That is a very dangerous precedent to set, and it's not accurate.
Hang on, Stephen.
It's not accurate.
Stephen, he did deliberately lie for a sustained period of time, for years, about these families.
So Piers Morgan obviously is a mind reader. He's Charles Xavier from the X-Men. He can read minds and say, no, Alex Jones deliberately lied. He didn't know what he was saying was real or false. Maybe he had an opinion. Maybe possibility is Alex Jones came to a particular conclusion that wasn't correct. And is it a crime to come to a conclusion that ended up not being correct? Because let's be honest, if you're going to fucking sit there and say that Alex Jones was wrong, and you want to say he deliberately lied, therefore it's the biggest defamation case ever in history, let's point to CNN. CNN has lied about Kyle Rittenhouse. They've lied about the boy that was being screamed at by the Indian. They've done so many lies. The mainstream media is so guilty of this every single fucking day. But Piers Morgan is, of course, a part of the mainstream media, and he will go after people that play a wrench in said propaganda. And this is why Piers Morgan is completely dishonest on this.
Tell me how he deliberately lied.
He knew that.
Tell me how he deliberately lied.
And he was found to have deliberately lied.
Tell me how he deliberately lied.
And by the way, in his defense, he
tried...
Tell
me how he deliberately lied.
I love Steven Crowder keeps asking that question.
He tried to play the First Amendment card, and it was rejected by the judge. Rejected.
Tell me how he deliberately lied.
How do you do it?
Please. Because he knew that it wasn't a hoax.
How do you know?
He knew
Are you a mind reader?
The massacre had happened.
Incorrect.
Let's listen to what he said.
That's incorrect.
Let's
Piers
play what he
Morgan's
said.
a mind reader.
Hook, it's got inside job written all over it. Sandy Hook is a synthetic, completely fake, with actors, in my view, manufactured. I couldn't believe it at first. People just instinctively
This is
know
Piers Morgan's proof
that there's a lot of fraud
that he
going
deliberately
on.
lied.
But it took
This is
me
how
about
Piers
a
Morgan
year
read
with Sandy
Alex
Hook to come
Jones'
to grips
mind,
with the fact
is
that the
watching
whole
these little
thing was
clips.
fake.
Whole thing was fake. Repeatedly. A
what?
series of different shows he did.
You still haven't answered. You still haven't answered. That doesn't prove that he knowingly lied. Anything.
but
Look,
you-
Alex
but-
Jones
hey,
is wrong
Stephen,
about a lie.
you're a very
Alex
smart-
Jones is wrong about a lie.
Stephen, you and I
Okay,
disagree.
but he's also he
Stephen,
100%
you and I disagree. Hang on.
believed it, and
I'm
then
going to
admitted that he
respond
was
to
wrong.
you. You and I disagree about many things. We agree about many too, right? But
appreciate
on this point, you're a very smart guy. I wouldn't question that for a moment. You and I both know Alex Jones knew that was not faked, Sandy Hook.
We're
you and
not
I
mind
both
readers.
know that.
So I have to spit the words out that you just tried to place in my mouth. I do not know that. I don't agree with the premise, and you have yet to prove it.
Yes,
Here's
and Piers Morgan wants to sit there and say Alex Jones lied purely for money. He lied this. There's no contradiction in Alex Jones. The moment he got it wrong, he apologized multiple times. And here's a great quote from Alex Jones. When he was on Piers Morgan's show, to where Piers Morgan platformed Alex Jones, he has no problem platforming Alex Jones, but he has a big problem with Elon Musk platforming Alex Jones. And he said this, Alex Jones said to him, I could slit my throat here on air, and you will still ask me for more. The lawsuit wants me to pay $1 trillion that I don't even fucking have, and I could slit my throat right now, and it still wouldn't be enough for these people.
the beauty, though.
I don't have to
even
prove
if you
it.
were
The
to
court
commit
proved it.
defamation, even if no, it didn't, and even
It did.
assuming
It
that
found
you
him
don't
guilty
discuss
of
the caps
defamation.
with your audience, and I'm going to continue speaking as though we're having a dialogue. Even assuming that you don't discuss the caps, that he would never pay out the far lower settlement that they have decided they would allow, considering this will go to a superior court and will get thrown out. Even if you allow all
It
of
won't
those
be
things,
thrown
here's
out.
the beauty of the First Amendment. Here's the beauty of the First Amendment. Even if you at one point commit defamation, you still don't forfeit your right to speak going
No, you
forward.
don't. No,
lose
I
a
agree.
fundamental human
But he
right.
wants
I
more.
agree.
And that's
Stephen,
not why he was banned from. That's not why he was banned from Twitter.
I
You know that.
He was
You know
banned from
that.
Twitter. He was banned from Twitter for having a pop at some guy from CNN. I don't care about that. I'm more interested in why Elon Musk tweeted when he bought Twitter and was asked, will you bring back Alex Jones? He said, no, I won't allow somebody back on, having gone through the pain himself of a child dying in his own arms, one of his children. He wasn't going to allow someone who profited from the pain of dead children to be back on the platform. He then changed
And
his mind,
Elon
which he's allowed
Musk
to
changed
do.
his mind 'cause he
owns
got
the
new
platform.
information.
X is a private company owned by Elon Musk. He can do what he likes with it. But they also have a series of rules. And my point to you is that the situation with Alex Jones is that he was found guilty in an American court of defamation. And yes,
American
it's entirely
court
down to
that-
Elon Musk that he can bring him back.
In a court of law where they were looking to hang him. Okay, Derek Chauvin, the guy that had his knee on George Floyd, he was a political example for the left. Hang this man because he was doing protocol. The police station lied and said that wasn't the case. Now we have the autopsy and we show that George Floyd died from overdose. They're doing the same thing with Alex Jones. They're trying to hang this guy to give you people that actually want to have freedom of speech, have these discussions, such as myself, and they want to use Alex as an example of charging him almost $1 trillion, like $800 billion, to use him as an example so that other people don't speak up. And Piers does not even acknowledge those things, but Piers is going to say, yeah, I'm going to trust the justice system and say that they're correct, that Alex Jones hurting families' feelings, and he should be charged for $1 billion plus for that. But the people responsible for allowing Sandy Hook to happen in the first place, they're not even sued at all whatsoever. It's ridiculous.
But I have lived and worked in America for 20 years. I have tried to really get a handle on the US Constitution. And on the issue of the First Amendment, it is a complicated thing. It's not as simple as saying you
That's
can
very-
say
It's
not
whatever you
complicated.
want.
It's not
Well,
complicated
it is,
at all.
because it doesn't allow the unfettered
Freedom of speech, and you have
with
laws.
protection.
That's it.
Are you suggesting it does?
absolutely does.
It doesn't.
It absolutely
Yes.
does, barring. Would
Crime.
you like me to explain? Barring what
Crime.
I've already outlined. actual criminal behavior calling for violence against other people. For example, Piers, look,
but
you know that
including
you have
defamation.
been, and I'm saying this in your defense. For example, you made your joke about being a two-spirited penguin, right? I thought it was cute. I think it was funny, and I understand the point that you were trying to make. Okay, you have had people accuse you of creating violence against trans. You know that, and we know it's absurd. So who defines what is actually calling for violence, or if you
but here's the
basically in a roundabout way maybe causing violence? No, unless you called for violence.
No, but you keep saying
that you were a two-spirited
penguin.
You
keep saying that your only barrier on free speech is crime.
Yes.
And I keep reminding you that Alex Jones was found guilty of defamation, and that is one of the things that's not protected by the First Amendment.
But you got to prove.
No.
You got to prove that Alex Jones deliberately lied. And 100% proof on that, okay? You have to do that. Piers Morgan, Steven Crowder already asked him, hey, can you prove that Alex Jones deliberately lied and wanted to lie for the sheer fact of hurting these people's reputation? Alex Jones didn't even know who these people were. There's no proof that Alex Jones knew who these people were. Had no reason to do said so of lies, had no reason to push this propaganda that the Sandy Hook shooting was set up. There was no proof on that. Although in the court of law, they already set him up for failure, similar to Derek Chauvin that I already explained on. But of course, Piers Morgan can't sit there and tell you why he believes that Alex Jones deliberately lied, other than, well, he was found guilty on this and that. Well, what was the real... Again, defamation requires proof that he intentionally lied and did it for said reasons. And Piers Morgan has yet to even explain what the reasons of why Alex Jones lied in the first place. And of course, because it's all bullshit. It's all fucking garbage, okay? It's all fucking shit.
If someone accuses you of defamation, and let's say has a suit levied against you that actually, by God, is successful, let's say that, does that forbid you from speaking publicly thereafter?
No,
you don't lose it. It's a fundamental human right.
Not at all.
So why do you want him off X?
I'm exercising my rights to free speech.
So why do you want him off X?
He shouldn't be allowed back on X, which was the position of the owner of X.
And he changed his mind because he had new information.
So my point is that Elon Musk has made two judgment calls about this. One I agreed with, and one I didn't. And I'm exercising my
Elon thought
free
that
speech
he was
rights
off because of the Sandy Hook shit. That wasn't true.
And I completely support your right to that. The problem is Elon Musk changed his mind in the face of new information. And if we want to have productive dialogues, we need to, you know what, this is one thing I often ask. And by the way, I think that none of this is a gotcha for Twitter clicks. I hope to God it's not.
No, you got him a gotcha.
You said, you know what, if I knew what I know now about the COVID vaccine, specifically that if you get the COVID vaccine, you cannot transmit it.
Yeah.
If I knew that that was incorrect, I wouldn't have espoused the views that I did.
Yeah.
I think that's a beautiful thing. And I think the problem that we have in today's society is not wanting to allow people to be wrong, to make mistakes. In the realm of comedy, look, good jokes and bad jokes come from the same place. Sometimes you have to risk something and it's not funny.
I agree
Sometimes
with
you
you
have
about
to
all
express
that.
an opinion.
Yeah, but I agree with you about all that.
Sure.
Here's the thing. During that C-19 pandemic that was going on, there was plenty of information online that was actually truthful. The difference is that I was called conspiracy theorists. Conspiracy theorists were actually stating XYZ, and we need to take them off of X and YouTube and all these free speech platforms because it's misinformation. A year, 2 years later, turns out they were correct. Then Piers Morgan says, yeah, I just my opinion because the information changed. No, the information didn't change. It's because you didn't listen to the other information that was being censored. That's the point, okay? And Piers Morgan refuses to acknowledge the fact that whatever situation he wants to go about, it's not because that he believes it's defamation and that Alex Jones shouldn't be on X for something that happened literally like 12 years ago. It's because he has a hatred towards Alex, and he has a rivalry towards Alex, and he wants that rivalry off the platform so that he can continue to not acknowledge the fact that Alex Jones has pwned him on every single dialogue that they've ever had.
I don't think that people like Alex Jones should be allowed an unchallenged, unfettered public platform to spew lies which are done deliberately, in my estimation, to spew lies.
Unchallenged?
Are
you out of your tree, sir?
Unchallenged.
It's a cesspool.
No.
Yeah, it's a cesspool of
People
conversation.
can reply to him, but no one can have a direct challenge to Alex Jones.
Are you kidding me?
He came on my show.
He came on your show.
You picked up, for
and you
example,
interrupted him the whole time.
He came on my show, Jeremy Corbyn, Taliban spokesman, and so on. Yes, because in each of those cases,
you interrupt
I put them through
yes.
the mincer, right? And I'm prepared to have them on
and
to
you
give
just
them a hard
interrupt
time.
them. You don't even allow them
might
to speak.
Agree or disagree with that, but they're all pretty volatile interviews.
You seem to be
Hang on,
over-concerned with
anti-Semitism.
No, I did not.
I am. Should Hamas stay in power? It's actually
you done yet?
It's actually a critical question.
Are you done yet?
It's a critical question.
Are you done yet?
No, it's the question.
Are you done yet?
Should they stay in power?
Are you done yet?
This country says they're a terror group. Now, the point of playing that clip, other than to entertain you, as I'm sure it did, is that, yes...
I hate that clip. I hate everything about that clip.
Why do you hate it?
I hate it because I don't like Jeremy Corbyn, but I think he's a bombastic prick, but I also think that you should have let him finish speaking. Why? Because then he would express bad ideas.
Yes.
That's why I support freedom of speech.
But actually, in the end, I could tell very quickly he was never going to give an answer.
Oh, because he's a mind reader.
We were in a game of
just
cat
like
and
he reads
mouse,
Alex Jones'
which went
mind.
on
Okay.
so long that the viewer was left in no uncertain terms what his answer actually was. He admitted Hamas are a terror group. That was his position. But only after I shamed him into doing it. So look, here's my question for you.
So that's it. So you want to shame people into agreeing with you?
No,
I would rather just let them
not at
speak
all.
if they
exactly
have bad
what it
Not
is.
at all. I want to shame them into giving an honest opinion. If they give an honest answer, even if I don't agree with it, I respect that. So let me ask you a straight question. Let me ask you a straight question.
Sure.
David Duke, the former KKK leader, he's banned from Twitter. Elon Musk hasn't brought him back.
Crowder.
Should he be allowed to be back
Set
on
of question.
X?
Throw that at me. Really? You just say, I want to ask someone a straight question. You have me here. I'm basically a specter. I don't appear on any. You want to ask me about David Duke?
Yes. Because he's banned from Twitter.
Should David Duke be allowed back on X?
Yes.
I'm not as familiar with David Duke as I am with Alex, which is why I was able to point out that you cannot prove that he knowingly lied about anything.
Yes.
If David Duke has called for the violence, look, if David Duke has called for the violence, actions of violence against minority groups, then no. If David Duke has espoused horrible points of view that can be refuted, by the way, not only by other people who are on X, but by the community notes on X, and on a platform where people are free to speak on both sides of the aisle, then yes. It doesn't mean that I think he's anything other than a racist prick.
In other words, Steven Crowder says, yes, he's a racist asshole. I can acknowledge that. But if he's not breaking the rules, it's all good. And you know what? I stated that in my last video. There's multiple people that Elon Musk hasn't brought back on Twitter, X, etc. Ban these individuals. And I would say bring them back because most of them didn't violate guidelines. They weren't calling for violence. None of these people that got banned, including David Duke, did not call for violence, okay? I don't think he broke any type of situations that would call for banning his freedom of speech. So I would say bring David Duke, the white supremacist piece of shit, bring him back. It's all good. Doesn't bother me at all whatsoever.
I think that we see a far worse dystopia in our future if we allow the government and these big tech platforms to determine who can speak and who cannot. And we've seen some very clear examples of this. I don't think they have the right to, for example, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Here's why. They benefit from Section 230. Now, I know you have a lot of fans in the UK. They may not be familiar with this. Let me explain what it means. They're basically treated like public utilities, meaning that they have immunity from liability for someone saying something on their platform. For example, AT&T here in the States can't ban you from their phone service because your racist Aunt Tilly drops an N-bomb after a few drinks at Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
They're a public utility.
They
These big tech platforms are treated as platforms where they are not legally liable for what is permitted, but that allows them to engage in viewpoint discrimination. And then there is no accountability. For example,
they can have
Hunter
their cake and eat it
Biden
too.
laptop story, which we know. And this is why I make all references publicly available, because I want to be held to account, and I will be held to account, would have changed the election if the government was not, and when I say colluding, I mean Joe Biden, Jen Psaki, Kamala Harris, Karen Jean-Pierre,
but they're not
calling
banned
for the removal of Joe Rogan from Spotify, calling for the removal
It's called election interference.
Scientists, by the way, of mRNA vaccine scientists from public platforms. If all information was allowed to be transmitted freely, like the platforms, as they are treated under our legal precedent here and Section 230, guess what? Donald Trump would be president. I'm saying this as a matter of record and fact. millions of people would not have gotten the mRNA vaccine, specifically men under 30, and lockdowns would have lasted days, weeks, not years. That is irrefutable, but you have the government and these platforms deciding which views were allowed and which views weren't. And I don't think I should be allowed, you should be allowed, and certainly not the government colluding with 5 companies who control over 90% of the information in the digital sphere. It is terrifying to me. You may think I'm an absolutist. I think I'm reasonable.
No, I actually don't think that's unreasonable at all. In fact, I have written numerous columns about the outrage of the New York Post having that initial expose.
But Piers, he just proved you wrong on how hypocritical you are. You don't even realize it.
2 weeks right before the 2020 election. I've said to Donald Trump to his face, never mind the stolen election bullshit you keep trying to pretend.
It's not bullshit.
I said
he literally laid out how these social media platforms were censoring information, thus that would be election interference. And then he's going to sit there and say, Donald Trump, I don't want to hear your election bullshit. That went over Piers Morgan's head completely.
Focus on that, because that probably swung the election, because it stopped the media investigating properly what was going on with Hunter Biden in Ukraine and what his father's involvement would be. I think that could have swung the election. So I absolutely agree with you.
Rudy Giuliani was on this show, and the first time the public ever saw Hunter Biden's laptop was on this show. Yeah. He brought it up. He goes, I have the laptop here. The FBI came, they searched my offices. They took everything but the laptop. I go, wait. Is that the Hunter Biden laptop? He said, yes. Episode is banned. Suspended from YouTube.
From YouTube, yeah.
Think about that. Think about how terrifying that is. It was an accident.
It's wrong. It's wrong. Let me ask you, though, yesterday on your show, you appeared wearing a T-shirt saying Alex Jones was right, changed my mind. So my question is, what was he right about?
Name it.
Oh, gosh, how much time do you have?
Well, are you talking about Sandy Hook?
No, I'm not talking about Sandy Hook.
Yeah.
He said he was wrong about Sandy Hook.
Again,
he apologized for Sandy Hook.
When he was sued, he said he was
eventually, but I'm saying obviously the shirt wouldn't be addressing that. If it's he says I was wrong, it would be awfully daft to wear a shirt saying he was right about something.
What are you alluding to then?
Or 9/11?
I'm alluding to,
he literally predicted 9/11 6 months before it happened.
On Americans. If you talk about what we've done with South American countries, as allowing the spread of STDs, for which Hillary Clinton apologized for. If you talk about nation building, where there have been underhanded deals with nations who don't have our best interests at heart. I mean, it's, take your pick. I don't believe that, for example, George W. Bush was next to the Twin Towers with an Acme plunger. No, I'm not that kind of a conspiracy theorist. But when Alex Jones said, look, you are going to be corralled into social media ghettos and lose your right to speak, he was right. He's right about a lot. And I will say this, he's been wrong about plenty. I am not here to defend everything that Alex Jones has ever said. I'm willing to defend everything that I have said on my program. But that man is exactly who you would expect him to be. He's a friend of mine. And when everyone else tucked tail and they ran, I'm not going to do that. I'll tell him he's wrong. I'll tell you where I think he's wrong. Yeah. But that man has a right to speak, just like I believe you have the right to speak. And Pierce, if you think they're not going to come for you, my word.
Think otherwise, Pierce.
Coming. And I hope that
you've already gotten canceled.
I genuinely hope that you don't. Well, I mean, I've had people say that I was a hate speaker because I said soccer was gay. I do. I think so.
You think soccer's gay?
Kind of gay.
Homosexual, yes.
You know what? That's a whole other debate, Stephen Crowder. Let's have a debate about whether soccer is gay. And if it is, by the way, I would be happy to embrace its homosexual side.
Well, I know you would.
Yeah,
I know
you definitely
would. With
would.
that accent, you have to be careful. People take you seriously. I think
he
it's
loves
great.
That gay
I think
pride.
It's great if you're a 6-year-old girl or a homosexual from Greece, to quote Nick DiPaolo.
Yeah, you know the difference in our football and your football? We don't wear helmets to protect ourselves.
I know, Mom is,
we're real men over here.
You also don't allow contact.
We're real men over here. There's no great padding or great shoulder pads and helmets. We just get stuck into each other. And that's the difference. Americans
and Academy Awards.
You like to wear helmets and carry guns. We just use these guns.
Yeah, fuck out of here. Yeah, no, we like to carry guns. We love our sports with violent contact. So, yes, it's funny because Steven Crowder has before in the past on his show, and this is just a fun thing, has nothing to do with freedom of speech, etc. But Steven Crowder has sat there and said, football is not nearly as tough as hockey. So he's saying hockey players are tougher than football players. I would disagree with Crowder on that. I think American football players are the toughest athletes in the entire fucking world. I will say that. I'm not, I will die on that fucking hill because at the end of the day, The average career span of a American football player is literally like 3 years. It's the least amount. The success rate of college players going into the NFL is like less than 2%, less than 1%, something like that. I mean, it is tough. It is brutal. American football is probably the toughest sport that you could play. It's the hardest sport to get into. So that's my argument with that. Anyways, guys, this has been Piers Morgan getting absolutely demolished by Steven Crowder on this topic. And again, freedom of speech, 100%. Alex Jones, I'm glad he's on the platform. And yeah, like I said before, Alex Jones is here to...
I will eat your ass.
He's here to eat the ass of the globalists.
That's why I want the globalists to know. I will eat your ass first.
Like, subscribe, comment down below all your thoughts, and I'm going to catch you guys on the next one. Until then, like I said, Trump 2024. Peace.